Homies, we reconvene yet again to put some respect on the name of a series that, as popular as it is worldwide, gets hella slapped on over here in the States. I need y'all to throw y'all senzus in the sky and give it up for the original Dragon Ball. Now, before we head first into YN Goku's hood rat excursions, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Big salute to the homies Carl Finch and Jimmy Tunnel for putting the absolute smackdown on the opening track Mystical Adventure. Every time I hear that bass line start slapping, I start geeking like I'm Chad Ochocinco in the end zone. And now the series has us hyped up from moment one, we take in the beautiful landscape and are immediately introduced to the man of the hour, Son Goku. A far cry from the golden-haired gilf we all know and love, this Son Goku is a chonky little bite-sized fellow who, while he looks pretty unassuming on the outside, we are immediately made to understand how perked out this little fella is as we watch the fun-sized fiend throw a whole tree stump into the air and obliterate it with a single kick while posing for the camera just to make sure everyone registered just how nice he is with it. After taking care of the morning chores, YN Goku heads inside, says a prayer to his OG, grabs his extendo, and decides it's time to spend another day figuring out how to make it in the projects. And while mini Sun Wukong is out to his own devices, our attention turns to the young lady in an immaculate whip with familiar blue hair who is also holding a device some of us may recognize. One thing that has grown to crack me up about some of the Dragon Ball cast though is, as we come to expect, some of the homies in the Dragon Ball universe are absolutely no stranger to putting a fit together. But they will just randomly have their name or some random English word like taco or butt crack just egregiously placed somewhere on one of their articles of clothing, and it gets me every time. I wonder if it's like when you're in the US and we have these shirts and junk with just random bits of Japanese on them that says Kami knows what just for aesthetic purposes. I ain't mad about it, they be putting it on for real. As La Blue girls continue on their search, we return to Goku out here in the trenches getting butt booty naked in broad daylight, telling us it's a requirement while he dunks his tail in the water looking for some free eats. But riddle me this, homies, little buddy's tail was already exposed, and after he toots that thing up and bodied that poor fish while flashing the camera, little homie got right back in them nasty ass jungle clothes soaking wet, so you can't tell me it's for drying purposes. I'm starting to think Mowgli here just got a little of that freaky frog in him, but no judgments from me, King. You have a whole different lifestyle, and I'm clearly unfamiliar with your game. As the big homie is walking off with fresh tuna though, Bulma comes blaring down the highway blasting that new Playboy Cardi and about ends the Dragon Ball franchise in one fell swoop. Now one thing we gotta mention about YN Goku here is, Buddy got about all the worldliness of Patrick Star.
Is mayonnaise an instrument?
No, Patrick, mayonnaise is not an instrument.
Little homie isn't stupid, and I think that's one thing lots of people get twisted about young Goku. He's got a functioning brain, but all the knowledge and social awareness of your uncle that got locked up back in '99 and just posted parole. Meaning there's a whole mess of stuff he hasn't exactly been put on to, and his naiveness of the world will be the source of many plot points and gags as the series moves forward. And here's one such moment, where Goku, thinking that Bulma's Mini Coop is a rival predator, decides to solidify the dominance hierarchy with the quickness and chucks her and her whip halfway across the wilderness. Not really sure what the hell she just rolled up on. Bulma, who y'all soon learn always keeps that thing on her, lets the chopper sing and nails Kid Goku right between the eyes. Brah, the way she really did just not hesitate to blam off on what she perceived as a small child lets you know immediately that Lady B is not to be trifled with. An absolute sicko who will not hesitate to confirm the body if she senses a moment's danger. But as we all know, this fella YN Goku been eating his cornflakes and is off at least 3 honey packs, so those bulls bounced off him like Andre Drummond at the free throw line, and he picked up the extendo, ready to return the favor. She's able to plead her case just in time though, letting Goku know that she isn't a walking tank, but a human. Not only is she human, but she's of the female variety, meaning now he's gotta take it easy on her. Goku checks the knees in the trunk a little bit and hits her with the "I'll be." With how scrawny you are, you must be one of them there girls, and offers to take Bulma back home and cook her a meal because it's what Grandpa Gohan would have wanted. No intentions of getting rizzed up by Chubbs McKenzie over here. Bulma plays along because her radar detects a Dragon Ball in the location this weird leprechaun is trying to take her, and she sees this as a chance to get her hands on the treasure. Not only that, but if mice and men here may be a little thin up top, but his muscle might come in handy for the road ahead. After they arrive back at the hut and Goku's shrine, Bulma gets her eyes on exactly what she's been looking for. The kid really did have the 4-star ball. And being the rude little street urchin she is, she immediately begins getting handsy with Goku's treasure. She almost made little man lose his religion, and 10 seconds before he was about to earn the nickname Chris Breezy, Bulma explains that what Goku thought was his grandpa was actually a set of mystical wish orbs called the Dragon Balls.
Roll credits.
And pulls out one she already has in her possession to show Goku she wasn't just jiving. The lore dump is given and Goku is made to understand that there are 7 of the orbs in total. And for the individual with the gumption to gather them all, Cosmic Kiryu, Shenlong, the god of all dragons, will grant the recipient one wish of their choosing no matter what it is. Homies, it's so funny being exposed to the origin story of the Dragon Balls and seeing all the mysticism and wonder it's handled with, just to know in like 4 or 5 decades from now, Bulma's gonna be out here casually wishing for the god of the dragons to give her an extension on her BBL and make her eyelashes longer. The Queen of Capsule Corp really out here just getting way too comfy. After giving the explanation, Bulma then sets her sights back on Goku and expects him to just hand over the keepsake of the only other Ningen he ever met in his life because she said pretty please and got 2 X chromosomes. Now this moment coming up as a classic and really puts a spotlight on one of the most significant differences between Z versus the OG Dragon Ball series. The humor and gags present in the stretch of the series really gives the whole thing an identity of its own. Bulma decides that she knows a surefire way to gank the balls out of this little cave mongrel's clutches. She sneaks him a little glimpse of that Punani little man is sure to be overcome with testosterone and start chimping out into her most valued possession without a second thought. As Bulma begins inching up that funky skirt of hers though, YN Goku just stares back at her like that D Rose meme with a question mark over his dome, puzzled as to why he think he would ever give up his grandpa's memento for a glimpse of her musty wasteland box. Grade A humor. Some of y'all YNs out here IRL could learn a thing or two from young Goku about locking in. The only ass Goku's out here worried about is how to assemble them checks in the bank account. Goku been red-pilled out here, don't ever play with him like that. Bulma, high-key irritated that the thirst trap didn't work, comes up with another plan, proposing that because Goku's schedule is about as booked as a Concord lobby a day after launch, he should join her to track down the rest of the orbs and see what all this mystical dragon hoopla is about. In reality, the real plan is to use Goku as a meat shield, sneak a wish while he's distracted, and leave him crying in the mud with his greatest worldly possessions scattered to the winds after she gets her rocks off, but that's neither here nor there. And on the back of this flimsy alliance built on utter deception, doesn't the franchise-spanning journey that we've all come to know and love and appreciate start its humble beginnings. After showing Goku the dragon radar that would be crucial to making their journey happen, the young monkey man formally introduces himself and asks the young lady her name as well. With hesitance, she tells him that her name is Bulma, and Goku gives the exact response she was hoping to avoid, laughing unapologetically that she was named after a set of undergarments and further cementing into Bulma's mind that her first wish on the Dragon Balls might be for a hysterectomy. If there's one thing she knows for sure, it's that she's not hoofing it all the way to the next Dragon Ball, so she busts open a dino cap containing one of those sweet looking motorcycles straight out of the Tron continuity, and Goku pulls out the extended clip ready to get active on it just like he was on Bulma's Doom Buggy a few moments back. But after Bulma assures him that her name was cleared in the Salem witch trials and her method will be far faster than walking, she throws Goku in the back of the bike and the two speed off to their next destination. Bulma's got a lead foot though, and after damn near wasting the both of them taking a hill too fast, hops off the bike to pop a squat behind a nearby rock so she can relieve herself in peace. Whole time you got R Goku staring her dead in the eye, completely oblivious to the violation in progress when it comes to being in civilized company. Before Bulma can get her whiz off though, this giant ass pterodactyl comes down and prepares to yoke her up directly in Goku's face.
Hey little bro, you know this broad or what?
Know her? I barely met her.
Oh, say less. We go way back, so I'm gonna take her to the crib, chop it up for a second, and I'll bring her right back, cool?
Then next thing Goku knows, he's tied up on a tree while Bulma's getting carted off to Peach's castle. Bulma, clarifying that she and the pterodactyl indeed do not go way back, Goku decided it may be a decent move to spring into action. YN Goku hops on the bike, extended clip at the ready, and hops into the air GTA stunt jump style, snaps at least 4 of the dino's vertebrae in the Infinity Stone dust with the extendo, and chucks the pole into a nearby cliffside just in time to save Bulma and watch her wet herself in the most unladylike fashion as our introduction to our heroes comes to a close. A bit of time passes and the homies find a third Dragon Ball, leaving them with only 4 to collect. With the day winding down though, Bulma decides that it's time to set up camp because she's well aware of the fact that nothing good happens after 9 p.m. Before continuing though, I gotta once again give accolades to Bulma's fit. This bomber jacket she's rocking with the green jeans and boots is OD. We already know that Toriyama's action scenes are top class, but equally as bombastic as the fights are the big homie's sense of fashion. I mean, he really knew how to make a character put that shit on. Out here giving a Rocky and the JoJo cast a run for their money. But yet again, I digress. Bulma, being the bougie teen that she is, has no plans of roughing it on that hard-ass ground getting hotboxed by Goku all night. Instead, she drops a capsule, and in a second, they have a whole-ass makeshift home at their disposal for some R&R on their journey. Goku still ain't up on the capsule situation all the way and has half a mind to get on his Flintstone timing and bash Bulma's head in when he walks inside and sees how bright it is. But Bulma gets Goku up to speed on the works of Thomas Edison, has a field day throwing Yoko Ono on the boob tube and having Goku worried half to death that he's getting a hex put on him. And before long though, the whole trailer gets gassed up from the severe case of swamp ass emanating from Son's trousers. Homie would have been right at home at the nearest FGC local, telling Bulma that Buddy hasn't washed that one set of clothes he owns since Grandpa Gohan was on this side of Yema's lobby, and he doesn't see any reason to change that now. Refusing to let her little capsule home be the residence for patient zero for the next global pandemic, she has Goku stripped down butt booty naked and decides to wash him down herself, since he clearly can't be trusted to do it. As the process continues, she lets Goku know that it's cute and all, but he can take that stupid tail clip off too. That thing's probably collected all manner of bacteria by now, until Goku uses his tail to grab the loofah from her hands and she begins to come to grips with the fact Son is in no way, shape, or form from planet Earth. Man, if she only knew, Z homies. Part of me wants to put on my tinfoil hat, get into my One Piece theory crafting bag and be like, see bros, Toriyama's been playing the alien twist since chapter 2. But that'd be a bigger stretch than Reed Richards playing Twister, and I can't in good conscience let myself go that far with the mental gymnastics. Makes for a cute little interaction though, because as confident as Bulma is that most humans ain't out here rocking a tail like that, Goku's the first boy she ever seen butt booty naked. So as far as she knows, every human male got that thing on him out here tucked away between them cheeks somewhere. After getting George of the Jungle all washed up, Bloomers tries to wash away the dirt and grime of the day, only to have Lion Goku strutting in with his little gut, no care in the world, striking up conversation like he and Bulma are an old married couple. As he's chatting down, he can't help but notice that she also happens to have a pair of butt cheeks on top of her stomach, as well as down below, and feels the need to remark on how both weird and inefficient that is. As she runs his ass out the room, she asks him how it's possible for a brat his age to be so perverted anyway, when she's horrified to learn that this fella Goku's Unk status. Big man out here 14 years old doing his best Vern Troyer impersonation, RP to the homie, and this leads her to crashing out even harder knowing that a boy right around her age has been violating heavy this entire time. As Goku hits the streets and finds some roadkill to bring home to the missus, he returns and the two chatted up about their backstories, considering that they still know relatively little about each other. Bulma asks Goku about his past, and all Buddy can tell her is he's got no clue about any type of mom and dad, but Grandpa Gohan was a real one, picked him up out the mountains when he was a baby, and has been putting him on game ever since. Goku is convinced that Bulma was excommunicated from her native village because she's named after underwear and got booty cheeks on her chest, but is corrected when she informs him that she goes to school, and she's Dragon Ball hunting on her summer break, so she's got a month to make this wish thing happen before it's back to the drawing board and life proceeds as usual. And as their pillow talk ceases, morning brings with it a whole mess of antics, but for today, homies, that's what we're gonna call it. Bulma and Goku's journey continues with Son arising from his slumber and identifying something most curious. As he prepares his morning routine of skipping all hygienic practices and running down a silverback to turn into a makeshift squat rack, Goku eyeballs the fact that Bulma got her little stanky ass drawers out yet again and decides to take a closer gander. Homie rolls up to the Capsule Corp princess with all the subtlety and confidence of a prime Bill Cosby and remarks to himself that, wow, her undies sure do remind me of Grandpa Gohan's crotch pillow. I swear I had to do a double take. Old ass Grandpa Gohan really had his adopted son parking it on his nutsack to take naps out in Appalachia? Please let this be some kind of cultural miscommunication I ain't up on, y'all, because the more I read Dragon Ball, the more it got me thinking 85% of the roster belongs on a registry like They Not Like Us album cover. But something is amiss. The comfortable bulge Goku has come to expect when he rests his temple down is nowhere to be found. Curious, he flips over to take a closer look, and after removing Bulma's bloomers, has the biggest scare of his 14 years on Earth. All the nappy-headed jungle man can do is hold his chest and weep for Bulma's loss, weakly informing her that the balls, her balls, seem to have been spirited away by a yokai somewhere in the dead of night. In a panic, Bulma feels a fresh morning breeze and runs to where the Dragon Balls are being kept. 1, 2, 3, all accounted for. Should have known a kid with no knowledge of electricity probably wasn't the one to trust with basic math, but since she was up and at him anyway, decided it was time to keep it pushing and begin the journey for more Dragon Balls. As Bulma prepares her coffee, Goku decides to head out for a quick moment for a morning workout. And what y'all think? Little homie probably just went out, hit a jog, maybe practiced a little martial arts? Hell no. This little crackhead son Goku picks out the heaviest rock he can find and bear hugs that thing until it cracked under the pressure, like somebody told Embiid he's gonna have to play on them back-to-backs. Not satisfied with the destruction, Goku hulks out and finds another object to perk out on, but is shocked when the rock begins talking to him.
Damn, son, I ain't been gripped this tight since Miss Turtle started taking the maca pills.
Bulma's slow ass really did turn into a turtle after all that waiting around. As Bulma walked out the house and received yet another bitter warning of Goku's potentially room temp IQ, Turtle desperately needed to plead his case.
Damn, y'all, I blew through my last bit of indica and I got cotton mouth like a mug. One of y'all be so kind as to bring an absolutely blazed sea turtle a bucket of salt water? Your boy would really appreciate it. Maybe throw in a little bit of seaweed too so I know it's real.
This demanding ass turtle was already starting to get on her nerves, but Bulma obliged a big fella got his munchies on. He explained that he was indeed a turtle and he got lost on the hunt for some shrooms he needed to take back to his old lady and roommate. Big homie got a worse internal compass than Zoro and asked if the current company would be so kind as to help him get back home. Bulma couldn't get the hell no out fast enough, remarking that she only had 30 days to find get the Dragon Balls, and playing Google Maps for a damn sea turtle wasn't on the playbook. Goku was like, bet, share some of the mushrooms with me and I'm your guy. Picked the turtle up over his head and that man started skedaddling. Best believe Bulma Briefs was big pressed, yelling at the young goat to never come back again if he was really about to chauffeur that turtle. But y'all already know how hard-headed this YN Goku is, but he was already 2 kilometers away by the time she got what she needed to off her chest. As Bulma began making plans on how to finish the rest of this journey solo, she remembered that the kid still had that Dragon Ball on him. Not only that, but when she looked outside and saw what part of town she was in as Gojiro's nephew started walking by, she called an audible, hopped on that bike, and was determined to meet back up with Son with the quickness. Seeing Bulma not even last 10 minutes before cracking, you already know Goku had to make a few sideways comments telling her about herself, but the roast session didn't last long, because the Stooges found themselves getting pressed by a bear with a mohawk who decided he had a hankering for some sea turtle. I forgot how wild random Dragon Ball is at times. Goku and Bulma just be out here doing side quests, delivering turtles to water, and next thing you know they get stopped by Kuma from Tekken 8. Bulma's absolutely hilarious too. She gave up Turtle without a second thought, threw him under the bus faster than Dak be throwing picks to the defense. Goku decided that he had to square up off principle though. Low-key Buddy wasn't even worried about protecting Turtle. He just didn't like the cut of this fella's jib and would be damned if he got absolutely bitched out by Bear in the Big Blue House. Bulma's about halfway to parts unknown before she looks over her shoulder and realizes Goku is really about that business. And here we go again with Goku being the most unserious person you know, squaring up with Yogi and playing a single player game of rock, paper, scissors, smacking Buddy square in the temple, and had his brain bouncing around his skull like Antonio Brown in 2022. I really forgot how casually Goku just out here murking folks in the original Dragon Ball. Got Goku Dahmer in full effect, and little homie just barely getting warmed up by this point. With no fanfare, they step over Baloo and deliver Turtle to the shore. Homie's got tears in his eyes. After blowing his load on a year-long dry run, he's thankful to be able to dive into something wet. But Franklin is nothing if not grateful and tells Goku and friend to chill by the water for a minute. He's got to grab something from his apartment real quick and he'll make sure they're rewarded for their hard work. Time passes and Bulma is absolutely sure they got fleeced by Leonardo. But right as hope was lost, Goku peeped something on the horizon. It was Turtle. Not only that, but he appeared to have something on his back this time too. As Turtle inched his way forward, they realized that it wasn't gold or some kind of wild treasure he was hauling, but an old man, no less than 88 years old, pulls up and introduces himself as the Turtle Hermit. Bulma, convinced they found this dude perked out somewhere in the New York subway system, prepares to walk off. But Turtle expresses to the old man that the little boy here, Son Goku, was the hero of the hour and deserves to be handsomely rewarded for his Black Air Force activity and willingness to murder in cold blood at the drop of a Dragon Ball. The old man stares at the little fella and calls upon the immortal Phoenix, who unfortunately does not arrive because apparently it died of food poisoning, which is an absolutely wild statement but ball up top. Since the Phoenix is a no-go, he next calls for the Kinto-Un. Out of the sky, a cloud begins floating down and makes its way next to the Hermit. Bulma, by this point, just baffled by what's happening, and she asks the Turtle Hermit just how and why he happened to come into the possession of a sentient cloud. Without skipping a beat, all the Hermit says is pretty damn rude for kids to be asking so many questions and to mind their own business. I'm dying, man. I feel like this was Toriyama talking directly to the audience and editors in the writer's room.
Oh, look, Akira, this is cool and all, but how the hell did the old man end up with these treasures in the first place? The viewers are gonna want to know.
Man, y'all a bunch of nerds. Quit asking me so many questions. I got a new idea for one of Bulma's fits and y'all holding up my creative process. Goku sees the cloud and immediately asks Roshi if he has a fork. I can't with this fella. This man saw a dude summon a cloud from the sky and the first question he has is how it tastes with A1. Roshi explains that the cloud is a mode of transportation and can provide the owner with the ability to navigate the sky faster than any aircraft. It comes with a catch though. Only folks that can ride it are the ones pure of heart. So if he tries to hop on and has any type of grime to his name, it'll drop faster than a Kendrick Lamar diss track. Roshi attempts to hop on and show him how it's done, but apparently Buddy forgot what type of time he's on himself and dislocated his hip in at least 4 different places. Goku, on the other hand, was a natural. Little man hopped on that cloud and was out there doing ollies, kick flips, and willy whoppers within seconds of jumping on. And seeing as how Roshi's heart at this point was blacker than line dances at a summer cookout, it only made sense to turn the Kento Uno over to someone who could actually use it. Seeing the way Turtle completely hold Bulma though for real caught me off guard. After Goku received his gift, he asked the old girl over there if she helped out too, and Turtle says hell no. It's actually messed up because she really did hook homie up with that seawater, but after immediately folding the Pooh Bear the second he showed teeth, I see how he would be giving her no types of play. And right here is something that we'll see as a recurring theme here in Dragon Ball, that being Roshi's R. Kelly tendencies.
Weird, buddy. You're weird.
Roshi decides that while Turtle may be stubborn about handing over a prize, he might be able to be convinced if he can take a quick little peek at some pantsu. Roshi be all the way for real, bro. This man is a walking case, bro. No wonder he lives all the way out on Epstein Island. But he probably ain't allowed within 1,000 kilometers of humanity in general, let alone a school zone. Got Buddy out here living in the OVO mansion. Bro, just what gotta happen in your life for you to get to the point where Roshi at? Even Turtle is like, bro, I'm an amphibian. I know what you just said is out of pocket. You ain't even asked how old she is, on. But it's far too late to be trying to talk some sense into the diddler over here. And Bulma, eyes ever on the paper, was more than willing to show a little fanny to get her eyes on the bag. What she didn't realize though is that after Goku's inspection earlier, her jaws were long gone and she inadvertently gave that old man enough raw material to work with for the rest of his days. Sicko like Roshi begins racking his brain trying to think of another gift to give up, because at this point all he's got left is garbage and hand-me-downs. He isn't left to wonder too long though, because Bulma peeps a chain around his neck, recognizes it as a Dragon Ball, and is locked in from that point on. She calls Goku down to celebrate and proceeds to reverse Uno card herself, talking too much about the finesse she was pulling as it was still in progress, leaving Roshi to rethink whether he's actually trying to give up that ball or not after hearing the lore dump and finding out what it can do. If there's one thing Bulma knows how to do though, is get a bag off a scent, and after machine gun panty flashes, or rather a lack thereof, Roshi's health bar is adequately lowered and proceeds to hop back on his turtle to OVO Island so he can relive that foul moment for the rest of his days. Bro, the way Turtle was looking at him, Buddy sat there murmuring to himself about what an experience that was. He looked like he was ready to flip his back and let them both drown in that water. As the happy couple made their way back to their trailer with their new treasures in tow, not all was peaches and cream. Bulma went inside, looked on her bed, and saw a very familiar pair of underwear. And since they were laying there, that meant they weren't somewhere else, and like a Jimmy Neutron brain blast, all those flashes towards that creepy ass hermit now carried a weight that she was not ready to bear. Then this man YN Goku walks in, sees that Bulma is completely mortified, and being the pure soul that he is, decides to cheer her up. It's okay, Bulma. At first I thought a life with no meat was barely worth living too, but after giving it some thought, I think you'll be just fine as long as you don't spend too much time looking down. Bulma was beyond lost and hit him with the Drewski. What do you mean by that? Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you. This morning when your junk was hanging out, it reminded me of nap time with my grandpa Gohan. But when I felt your Frank and beans were missing, I threw off the drawers to double check, and lo and behold, they were really gone. But it doesn't look like you're bleeding or nothing, so maybe girls' parts just come on and off like a Mr. Potato Head or something, you know? Summoning it from the same place CJ from San Andreas be keeping his inventory, she pulled out a Uzi and started tagging Goku for an unforgivable violation. But me being me, I gotta ask, how homegirl didn't know she was missing her drawers after all this time? Because after Goku dipped out on the turtle, Bulma took a ride on a whole motorcycle to catch up with the both of them. What you mean she didn't feel she ain't have anything on? She might want to go to a doctor, bro. That kind of loss of feeling gotta be an indicator of something malfunctioning. Eventually, Bulma found it in her to forgive Goku and decided that the hunt for the Dragon Balls needed to continue. Thinking the fastest way would be to hitch a ride with Goku on his cloud, she hops on head first, dropping faster than America's economic status. Was beauty a disqualifier and purity of heart? Goku was so far from surprised though, it took him 2 seconds to recall her trying to finesse his grandpa from him with the use of her musty kitty, and he had all the evidence he needed that she wasn't built for the Nimbus. So Goku took to the skies and Bulma busted open a capsule, and the two continued forward to the destination destination for the next Dragon Ball, which brought them to an eerily quiet village. Goku, being the undomesticated basket case he is, knows that there are people here and finds the nearest door and puts his whole arm through it like he's Jack Nicholson. And as he's looking around in the dark, Buddy gets absolutely devastated by a hatchet straight to the medulla. I mean, this old fella really put some why order behind it. Hit Y and Goku so hard the entire hatchet evaporated and left Goku with one of those Looney Tunes goose eggs like Foghorn be giving folks. Now anybody else would have got bagged and tagged, but all this did was piss Goku off, and right before he was about to catch his first on-screen human body, he stops himself from the old dude in front of him, starts pleading that Oolong please spare him, and that he was only there to protect his precious daughter. Knowing for damn sure his name ain't Oolong, Goku puts the extendo away long enough to gather some information about what's actually going on in this place. After realizing that Goku and Bulma come in relative peace, the rest of the villagers begin to make their way out of their homes to see who would be dumb enough to come into their town right now with everything they got going on. An adorable young lady takes it upon herself to give Goku a cold compress for that goose egg he's nursing. But of course, Y and Goku couldn't let a good thing be a good thing. He notices that he's getting a similar vibe from this person that he got when he met Bulma and proceeds to give her his now patented Goku ball check in broad daylight, right in front of the girl's pops to confirm his theory. Bulma was ready to Batista bomb him then and there, but she knew she had to figure out what was going on in this place, so she spared him this time. Apparently, the entire town was under oppression from some creature called Oolong. Buddy is said to be some kind of geeked out, shape-shifting monster who for some inexplicable reason known only to Diddy demands the younger daughters of all the parents of the village, most recently demanding the daughter of the man that was looking to reinitiate Goku's battle with CTE. And here we go y'all with OVOZ. Why is half the cast we run into in Dragon Ball so far out here checking for young girls like Draymond be checking for technicals? Whole roster need an intervention, bruh. No wonder Goku out here smoking folks and asking questions later. He been knew what type of time they were on. I gotta apologize for coming that little man sideways earlier. While Goku's already offering to run the fade strictly for the love of the game, you already know what type of time Bulma's on, and she's gotta have a little incentive first. She pulls out her Dragon Ball and learns that one of the local grannies has a treasure that looks just like it and proposes a trade. She sicks her pit bull Goku on Oolong in exchange for the old lady's Dragon Ball. Bulma really thinks she Mike Vick out here the way she got a collar on Y and Goku, but Goku decides there's a little something in it for him too, as he starts pushing up on Grandma and giving her his patented ball check, leaving her more flattered than repulsed. "You're a little too young for that, young boo, but I respect the game. Uncle over here was something of a cougar hunter himself back in them days." And so the deal is struck. Y and Goku will put on his finest dress and scarf combo and use all his underage charms to lure Oolong in, and once that creep is in smelling distance, the games will begin. And here, homies, where the Chris Hansen festivities in full swing is where we'll call it. Tune in next time as Goku comes face to face with the terrible Oolong. He talks a good game, but something tells Goku this fella's softer than the early 2000s Ray J albums. He's about to put that theory to the test. Both pigs and fists will fly in an episode you're not gonna wanna miss. Episode starts off on some absolute nonsense. Bulma out here selling Goku to Satan, aka Oolong, for a Dragon Ball and a pack of Newport Light 100s. She stole the clothes right off the little village girl's back and hooked Y and Goku up with the craziest Aunt Jemima cosplay to peep Oolong's Epstein's interest long enough to sneak into his island and find out where he's been hiding all the rest of them little girls at. Goku walks out the door in preparation for Oolong because you can hear Buddy long before you see him coming like his name Jibs. Big Oolong approaches Goku in his most polite to catch a predator energy, thinking that little Buddy is being shy by keeping his back turned to him. Long shiesty whole mindset backwards. Buddy acted like this transformation was what was making this whole situation foobar, rather than the whole affair being a little too Diddy adjacent, but that ain't never stopped Bulma. The moment this fool turned into George Costanza, Bulma walked her briefs right out that house and started thirsting like folks waiting for fresh water in Flint back in 2014. Whole situation had my stomach turning. Costanza asked Bulma how old she is. She says 16 with her whole chest, and Buddy starts fantasizing about all manner of things that don't show up nowhere in the Bible. What in the statutory? And to top it off, Goku pulls up his dress and starts pissing on a tree. Oolong starts bugging because while he may enjoy cupcakes, he apparently still has some demons to work out about the trans community, leading him to turn into a bull, which he is sure will scare everyone off and let him return to his island of questionable appeal with little to no drama. Little does he know, though, is that all he did was threaten Goku with a good time. Seeing Goku not backing down, Oolong enters a panic and hides. Turns out little Buddy's real form is a 2'3" slice of Canadian bacon. Shout outs to Aubrey, and is only able to take a form for 5 minutes before he has to recalibrate his encryption. After he had a chance to recover, he takes the form of fake Mazinger Z and once again attempts to bitch Goku out in hopes of avoiding a tussle. The unexpected occurs in pairs though. When initially homie somehow manages to burn his finger on a bowl of Campbell's chicken noodle soup, he spawned into the world with one of them badass little village kids get possessed by the spirit of King Von and fires off on the back of his head, causing Oolong of all people to give the local townsfolk a lecture about how they need to be taking care of their kids better. Seeing all this though, Goku drops his fighting stance and informs Oolong that he believes he's softer than flower petals on freshly fallen snow. Oolong starts bugging because he can feel the tables turning and tells the kid, oh yeah, if you're so tough, how about you break these bricks with your fake Steven Seagal looking ass? Goku, disrespectful even in his youth, proceeds to collapse a tower of bricks with a single finger like the Browns defense in the third quarter. Realizing he's out of his depth, Oolong transmogrifies into the spirit of Little Dirk and attempts to flee the country. But Goku's right there with him, riding on King Kunta, going hit for hit. Goku catches up, gives Oolong a wedgie, and takes him back to the village for some community justice. Bulma gets her Dragon Ball, and they force Oolong to take them to OVO Island to bring their little girls back. What they found though, I can't even lie, made me laugh and also threw me for a loop. Emboldened by Oolong's small PP energy, it turns out the girls from the village were living like queens back in his estate. Oolong was hoping to intimidate his way into some kind of trad wife situation, but got the turns tabled on him, and now was actually hoping somebody from the village would come and get these sorry ass girls out who refuse to do basic household chores like cleaning up after themselves, let alone the kingly treatment he had in mind when he first snatched them up. With their treasures in tow, the journey for the rest of the Dragon Balls continues. Now with Oolong as a part of the starting roster due to Bulma feeling like his ability to go Mystique will prove handy in the future. Bulma really out here recruiting folks like Professor X.
To me, my
little girl kidnappers.
And sorry ass Oolong is convinced to stay on the off chance that he'll get to see Bulma in her drawers at some point. The most down bad roster ever, bro. Out here looking like the 2011 Charlotte Hornets. The crew takes to the season as they talk about the location of the next ball. Oolong sees his chance to skedaddle, turns into a beta fish, and starts scooting away. Bro, the way Bulma gets him back is so foul. Lady puts a pair of her musty underoos on a fishing line, throws him in the water, and in seconds, Oolong gets pulled back into the party because he couldn't help himself. Unbelievable. In what looks like an effort to extend a truce, Bulma offers Oolong a piece of candy to show he's appreciated. You already know Oolong down with that junk like Harden in the off season, and the trip continued fairly normally until Bulma informed the crew that the next leg of their trip was to Fire Mountain. They got out the raft, and the moment Long heard where they were headed, took off into the woods yet again on some sneaky stuff. Bulma was prepared though, and as the words piggy reverberated across the forest, Oolong inexplicably found himself messing his trousers like he just downed the craziest bowl of jambalaya in the world. Stomach sounded like somebody firing off a Mac 11. Stomach sounded like somebody trying to microwave a whole roll of quarters. Absolutely hate to see it. Turns out Bulma trusts Oolong about as much as you could trust anyone who turns into George Costanza in an attempt to take girls to a secluded island. So that candy she just gave him was laced. So anytime she says the magic word, Buddy's whole gastrointestinal system starts acting up like somebody threw a pair of Timbs in the dryer. Oolong, baby wipes in hand, trudges his way back to the team, finally ready to behave for the moment. Bulma lost her capsules at some point, so she asked Oolong to turn into a bike so they continue the journey ahead. But boy is weaker than a YouTuber's apology, and after being declined on his offer to transform into a pair of Bulma's briefs, it is decided that they will be taking things to the ground and hoofing it through the remainder of the desert. This leads to our first introduction to everyone's favorite mark, Yamcha. And I can't lie y'all, the more I process his living conditions and the way we first meet him as a character, the weaker I get. Buddy really out here living alone in the middle of the desert with just his fleshlight, a cat, and a dream. Somehow making ends meet by finessing folks who happen to come across his comedy-forsaken shack. I'ma really start calling this man John Arbuckle, out here living in the middle of nowhere, zero hoes, and getting harassed by his cat on a daily basis. Garfield, aka Par, lets him know that they got a few suckers in the vicinity and need to have in their pockets ran and takes off in the desert Segway to greet his company. Mr. Arbuckle pulls up in his own bull for moment one, telling Goku that if he's making laps in his city, he gotta make sure he checks in and comes with donations. Bruh, I cannot. Just the reality of what we know goes down at Z, and seeing our first interaction between Goku and Yamcha looking like this, it just shows you how long of a journey it's been. Before anything gets active though, Par and Oolong have a quick aside. Turns out the two of them met back at Hogwarts together and before homie got expelled for stealing draws from the female teachers on campus. Old Goonlong out here really got a fetish. Man is absolutely out of control. His first instinct is to run away, but then he remembers who he's standing next to, writes a check he forces Goku to cash, then hides behind the nearest set of rocks. The whole time this is going on, Bulma's still knocked out, but out on the front lines, Goku don't mind because he's ready to see what this fella's really about the moment he started talking spicy to him. Yamcha takes a swing, gets weave, instantly, and after almost getting his brain turned into pudding with a power pole smash from the top rope, Goku activates the extendo and leaves John gasping for air. After he asks, Goku lets Yamcha know that his staff as well as his training all come from Gohan, and apparently that name rings bells in the streets because the moment he hears that, he stances up and decides to take things seriously. Now, one thing we gotta get straight is that Yamcha wasn't always the absolute putz we come to know in Z. There was a long stretch of time, especially when we're talking about early on in the series like this, where John Arbuckle was considered a real threat and was going fang to fist with the best of the Dragon Ball cast. Although I can only give Lil Bro so many props here, because while he's about to have Goku looking absolutely crazy a few seconds from now, this is when Goku had that massive "I'm hungry" debuff gag going on, where bro basically becomes absolutely useless as a living creature whenever he's remotely hungry. And you factor this in with Yamcha's patented Wolf Fang Fist, and you get an unholy combination where Yamcha is dominating Goku in ways that become completely unheard of the moment little buddy's growth spurt hits. However, that time is not now, and John Ruga Fufuken leads Goku to getting put through a good 3 cliff sides and the first real on-screen L we've seen Y and Goku take. And the hilarity of Goku's first on-screen L coming from Yamcha is not lost on me. Oolong, ever sensitive to who's on the winning side, attempts to transform into a flying bounce, but is quite literally swatted out the air as Yamcha shuffles his way over and begins to check his pockets again. To everyone's surprise though, Goku emerges from the rubble like I ain't hear no bell, and using his RPS fist, meets John fist to fist, doinks his eyes with levels of precision that would have made Pai Mei proud, and sends him flying with an open palm that in the manga breaks the fourth wall by having him pinball off the top side of the panel and getting planted into the ground. And right as Yamcha picks himself up for round 2, Bulma awakens, and for some reason the moment Buddy makes eye contact, he freezes up like an Uncrustable left in the freezer for 6 months and bounces back to his studio apartment. Turns out John is quite literally an incel, and whenever he sees a girl he's even remotely attracted to, he loses spaghetti faster than Eminem in a rap battle and has a dip, so his rematch with Goku will have to wait for another day. And rather than wondering why the party is half dead, all Bulma could do was investigate, hopes that, as unlikely as it may be, the mysterious desert hunk they ran up on might be the one to finally satiate her thirst. The homies prepare to call it a night, setting up camp using one of Oolong's remaining capsules. Bulma hits the showers as Goku verges on the edge of screwing the whole operation up by spelling the news about the Dragon Balls to Oolong. Telling that lion-ass pig about the wish orbs was bad enough, but it just so happens that Yamcha was out here on his peeping John timing with Par doing some reconnaissance, heard the tale of the Dragon Balls, and is now after them as well. After his awakening inadvertently soaking in an eye full of showering Bulma outside the trailer, Yamcha gives us the lore on his character. With zero interest in being a ruler and not really being worried about money since he can get all the cash he needs by running pockets, his primary focus has become his incel tendencies. But he knows he turns into a Joker fan page admin the moment a remotely attractive girl comes into earshot and considers this the bane of his entire existence. All he wants from the Dragon Balls is to make a wish to be deprived of his scaring the hoes energy long enough to get into a proper relationship and maybe even end up married. Man, just look at this wholesome ass Yamcha we get at the top of the series. Low-key makes me weep for what the young man will become. In his heart of hearts, he never wanted to be chasing tail like that, but as time went on, he got possessed by the streets, and now he's out here pushing 60, still blowing up the DMs of the girl that gave him some playback when he was 16. Straight up horror story. And speaking of horror stories, what's going on inside the trailer with Oolong had me side-eyeing Oolong crazier than Forrest Whitaker. He and Goku were having a dialogue inside, with Goku trying to figure out just what the hell had Oolong so preoccupied with women when they were basically these weird space creatures without Dragon Balls and power poles. Oolong, under the guise of doing something selfless for the household, slipped Bulma something crazy in her OJ, leading her to get extra sleepy after that bath and ready for some R&R. Bruh, nobody told me Oolong was going to be out here transmogrifying into the Pudding Pop King. Man is really out here on this Rick Ross time and thinking the whole affair is sweet. At this point, I want Yamcha to come in there acting up. Oolong needs to be taken out back to tend the rabbits for his own good. As Oolong creeps his way up the stairs and Goku falls victim to his Dr. Drink, before Oolong can act on the instincts that would be sure to seal his fate after reaching cell block 1, a sound downstairs broke him out of his lecherous stupor. And here, with best laid plans being thrown to the wind, is where we'll call it. As Oolong was moments away from having Toriyama Sensei draw a scene that would have permanently got Dragon Ball banned in the States, he's interrupted when he sees what looks like Goku climbing the stairs. Knowing full well how quickly that caveman would have had his bacon on a skillet if he peeped him hunting for Bulma's Dragon Balls while asleep, he gets desperate, pulling the blanket over the sleeping girl's head and transforming into BBW Bulma to ward off suspicions. Little does Oolong know though that what he thought was Goku was actually a Doodle Bob tier impersonation put on by none other than Poir, who was was sneaking upstairs to distract the girl so Yamcha didn't have to shit the bucket the moment he came in the earshot of some XY chromosomes. Bro, what even is this show? I'm so weak because Par not recognizing Bulma I can low-key understand, because I don't actually know if Par has really even seen Bulma for real to know that something was off with this high-calorie version. But Oolong not being able to recognize his Mihoi Minoi looking excuse for a Goku makes me sick, bro. That means little buddy truly had not even been paying a lick of attention to Goku or what that fella looked like the whole time he's been dogging around for a pair of dirty Bulma panties. Absolutely freaked out. There is no hope for him. As fate would have it though, there was only one set of balls Yamcha was fit to take home that day. As Par took Bulma's big sister Boxers down for a distraction, he couldn't help but wonder if that girl that had him tied up in knots like that the past day was really that thick from the start. Just as Yamcha was preparing to learn some truths about himself as he uncovered the wish orbs on the bed, he was utterly mortified when the spheres he caught sight of were much different than what he was expecting. After a moment of processing, all the young king could do was wordlessly walk out of the trailer park. He gazed into the abyss too long and found only nipples in the reflection. He needed to regroup and recalibrate his encryption. His desires to exit the incel community would have to wait yet another day. Morning comes and Goku finally awakes from his pudding pop trance. Waking up on 10, per usual, Bulma gets on Oolong for not having her laundry ready, but is put at ease when he informs her she's got a spare outfit upstairs that should fit her just right. Refusing to beat the Freakazoid allegations, tell me why this 14-year-old pig had a bunny cabaret outfit just chilling in the top drawer of his double-decker minivan like it's just something people do. With no other options though, Bulma dons a costume, which funnily enough will go from fan service to plot relevance in a few short moments, as the crew continues their journey to Fire, aka Fry Pan Mountain. As they roll through the desert, they are quickly greeted with some familiar company. None other than John Arbuckle riding a whip straight out of Mario Kart, looking in their direction to make his presence known. Bulma sees this and gets excited, hoping that the young lad's wolf-fang fist will penetrate more than Goku's ribcage this time. But is quickly disappointed when this man spawns in a rocket launcher and launches a bullet at a pig faster than Charlotte's Web. After making the block hotter than invitations to a Diddy party, Goku exits the van ready to squabble up, informing Yamcha that the last time they were throwing the ones, he had that starving Marvin debuff, but now he was full and ready to put belt to ass, no draws. And boy was he not lying, because round 2 ain't look nothing like the first soiree. They started off exchanging blows, no diddy, but in record time, Goku hopped a kick from Yamcha and gave him a taste of those Wasteland 11 straight to the jaw. The whole thing was tragic. Yamcha picked himself up off the ground, and after noticing every time he tried to make a vowel sound, he sounded like Thompson Tank Engine, peeped the fact that he lost a tooth and damn near erupted into tears. Young man was already allergic to getting hosed, and after being an involuntary recipient to the Hockey Smile Hall of Fame, he needed to grieve his permanent celibacy in silence. That most recent trip to the wash and dry cycle gave John a revelation. Why and Goku got hands. So rather than taking the direct route and trying to finesse Goku in a one-on-one, since clearly he ain't that guy, he decided to play the long game, banking on the belief that Goku's brain was smoother than a cooch dancer's midriff, and if he followed him long enough, he would lead him straight to the balls. So what do you know, old Yamcha put his old jalopy in reverse and pulled yet another rabbit out of his hat, but this time he was bearing gifts. He threw the crew a capsule containing a mint-condition Volkswagen in the hopes of letting bygones be bygones, and seemingly scooted off back to his one-bedroom apartment with his cat after reflecting and coming to the error of his ways. At least that's what Goku thought as he was hauling Bulma's surprisingly heavy carcass across the desert landscape. Oolong was all but convinced the moment they turned on that car they were going to be recreating that scene with Apollonia from The Godfather, but to his surprise, they were able to use the gift without a hitch, and the journey to Fry Pan continued. Making their way in a new set of wheels, the closer they got to the mountain, the hotter it got. But this wasn't only heat Oolong was feeling, because Oolong knew about the rumors of Gyumao, aka the Ox King, who took residence atop Fry Pan Mountain, and the little piggy was in no rush to make his way into that particular skillet. Bulma's barrage of insults, shining a light on Oolong's complete and utter bitch-madeness, did absolutely nothing to stop that pig from putting the buggy in reverse and heading back to his mansion of ill repute. Unfortunately for him though, he forgot about Bulma's bubble gut serum, and seconds before he turned the interior of the Volkswagen peanut butter for all the wrong reasons, he evacuated and found himself back aboard the next field trip to Fry Pan. On the other side of the earth, John and Garfield were racking their brains to figure out if little Goku had finally bitten off more than he could chew looking to square up with Gyumao, when in the distance, he heard some rigmarole occurring behind him that he couldn't help but give some attention to. T-Rex was running sprints through the landscape, chasing an Epstein Island escapee, and right before her attendance to the next Nirvana concert was secured, she threw her bladed mohawk at the encroaching beast and knocked his head clean off his underdeveloped shoulder. But as I was watching this, I couldn't help but ask why this kill in particular was so damn graphic, man. Like, the whole thing is random enough with this little ass girl and some Victoria's Secrets and a bladed mohawk snuffing out Barney's first cousin. But then to watch the scene just devolve into a happy tree friends level of gore out of nowhere until she uses her ultra beam to turn that thing into space dust just had my head spinning. I know Sensei was off the craziest pack ever when he was putting Dragon Ball to paper. The creativity and randomness level is just absolutely unmatched. But I'm glad I wasn't bugging that bad because Yamcha had the exact same reaction as me watching this whole thing unfold and began to roll up on the kid to get some answers. Little lady was on garbage time though. Tell me why all John did was roll up and she immediately fired off a unibeam looking to Thanos snap this perfect stranger's life away. Luckily Yamcha got them Wolf Fang hops though, jumped over the laser, and immediately after processing what she just tried to do to him, said his hands was like Animal Crossing. They rated E for everyone, and Double Axe handled the top of the girl's dome like his name was Randy Savage. I gotta be real though, as insane of work as this section with Yamcha being the face of equal rights, equal fights is, the conversation after the job was done had me put some respect on his name. In the manga version, after putting that youngin to sleep, maybe permanently for all he knew, Park couldn't help but notice that he did start bugging after putting hands on that little girl in the same way he was after catching a glimpse of Bulma's wish orbs. That's when mans like Yamcha was like, well duh, that's cause I ain't into cupcakes, don't put that evil on me. Damn near cried. The originator of the Wolf Fang Fist said don't mistake me for the rest of these weirdos on the roster. The only thing I like ripe is a banana. And as King Yamcha made his way back to check in on the progress of plotline A, Goku and company were still trying to figure out a way to navigate the fires of Fry Pan. Eventually they decided on having Goku take King Kunta up top to scout the castle and see if he could drop in from there. Never want to shy away from an opportunity to risk his life and well-being, Goku saddled up and scooted his way up to the top of the mountain. And while he was taken to the air, fireworks were sparking down below as well, when a massive man, an absolute unit, homie looks like he just got done swallowing the entire Miami Dolphins roster, major pause, threw an axe near the fences near Bulma and Oolong, sharply making his presence known. Before them stood none other than Gyumao, the absolute brick house who by all appearances had earned his nickname and then some and was now requiring answers out of his most recent uninvited guests. Bulma was in the cut babbling like Courage the Cowardly Dog, but was saved from her stupor when Goku rode back in from his cloud to see what had his friend stuttering like grade school Forrest Gump. Goku asked the old ass man his name and wanted to know why he seemed to be pressing his friends like he was, which was none too nice. As Bulma and Oolong found themselves on their knees prepared to do whatever it took to lower the ire of the Ox King, the massive warrior was more concerned with the curious mode of transportation that little nappy-headed boy was flying on. Upon telling him that he got it from an old perv named the Turtle Hermit, Ox King's whole vibe changed, squatting low and excitedly asking the young troll what trailer park Roshi moved into after being evicted from his last place for being too close to a school zone. Not surprised to hear about the necessity of his living arrangements, but definitely surprised to hear there was more to the old dude than chasing uncomfortably young girls. Gyumao and Goku began chopping it up like old buddies as the conversation continued. Continuing to peep the rest of Goku's fit, he noticed the power pole down on his back and recognized this as one of the trinkets owned by Master Gohan, Roshi's #1 disciple who he trained along with as #2 back in the day. Seeing their traveling companion make such quick friends with Brock Lesnar made the crew as well as Yamcha begin to have an understanding of just how much of a diamond in the rough this Goku fella might be, and there might be worse naive little murder hobos to be in the company of. Upon seeing Goku as someone who could be trusted, he imparted the young bumpkin with yet another side quest, asking Goku to return to the side of Master Roshi and receive what was known as the Basho fan. Much in the same way as the Kinto-un, the Basho fan was yet another trinket Master Roshi happened to be in possession of that possessed the power over the elements necessary to extinguish the heaven-sent flames from Fry Pan. Goku agreed, but this time put his noggin to use and set one condition, asking that in exchange for making that trek all the way back to OVO Mansion, the Ox King would give up the Dragon Ball he was in possession of back in his castle. Seeing as this is more than even trade, not knowing the golden goose the Dragon Balls were, Gyumao agreed and the terms were set. And as Goku prepared to speed off, he was stopped one last time by the Ox King, who had a final request. He lost sight of his daughter Chi-Chi yesterday during his afternoon self-immolation session atop the mountain, and asked Goku if he happens to see a young child in a bathing suit that definitely wouldn't get him caught up in children's services to bring her back home, because daddy misses her very much. And Big Fella also just casually pimped out old girl to Goku, telling her he can wife her up while he's at it too, because he knows any child of Gohan's gotta be top quality grandbaby making material. And with the uncomfortable conversation finally out the way, Goku made his way back to OVO Island for the treasures to solve their Fry Pan problem. But unfortunately, not all were as at ease as young Goku, because as Yamcha heard Francis Ngannou's description of his daughter, he realized that was the girl he gave that insane donkey punch to back in Wasteland 3 and was guaranteed to be cooked quicker than eggs on Fry Pan the moment Bane found out what happened. So with Par in the car and fear in his heart, Yamcha retraces steps, and right here, viewers at home, is where we're gonna call it. As Goku makes his way to find 13 bear asses to complete the side quest given to him by the Ox King in order to continue the main quest. In order to not end up in a wolf fang casket, Yamcha retraces his steps to the jungle to find where he knocked out that little girl whom he now knows as Chi-Chi, the daughter of the Ox King. As Yamcha takes the young Chi-Chi into his arms and shakes her like a negligent parent, she comes to life and immediately puts her hand on the Ultra Beam, ready to pop shots should the situation get any weirder in the coming seconds. Recognizing that he may not even have to worry about getting flatlined by Gyumao because his daughter might do it to him right then and there, Mr. Arbuckle thinks fast and decides that the only way out of his current predicament is to reach deep in his bag and throw on some Predator Riz. Man, it's like Yamcha says, sorry young lady, I know I said I wasn't into cupcakes earlier, but looks like the wolf has developed a bit of a sweet tooth. Straight cornball. Dude's out here getting his full money's worth out of that wolf cosplay like he's auditioning for the next Twilight. Then to secure the finish, Yams throws his head back and hits her with a smile, forgetting that his whole dental situation is foobar right now and he's out here looking like he got done running 7 rounds of NFL Blitz IRL. It had me so weak because for a minute, Chi-Chi was straight caught up in the Riz domain, but the moment he opened his mouth, she snapped out of it and caught the egg faster than when you showed that girl from Tinder your Funko Pop collection. Luckily for him though, with Chi-Chi being the innocent youth she was at this time, just the very idea of a young man being interested in her was enough to charm her no pants off. So seeing that the coast was clear, Yamcha hopped back in his jalopy and left her on red, leaving young Goku to pick up the pieces as he came coasting down on the Nimbus. And here, friends, we have the first meeting of Goku and Chi-Chi, the beginning of a volatile, decade-spanning romance with some very modest beginnings. Goku informs Chi-Chi that his pops asked him to pick her up so they can receive a doodad from noted sex pest Muten Roshi. Chi-Chi's lack of questions quickly informs us that she's just as wild as Lion Goku, who quickly offers her a seat on the Nimbus so they can begin their journey, as long as her fanny is pure enough to hop aboard. She informs her young suitor that her heart is as clean as Zion's plate at the Golden Corral after dinner and climbs aboard the Cloud, using Goku's tail as a brace. This seemingly small moment turning out to be of key plot relevance throughout the series will never cease to blow my mind and is also duly noted by Yamcha, who, knowing that he has about as good a chance of beating Goku in a straight up fight as Kevin Durant ruining your parlay, so now that he knows the fella's main weakness is his backdoor long nose, he would just wait for him to finish his side quest and give him the grips when the time was right. So Goku and Chi-Chi continue their mission to get known hoarder Muten Roshi to lend them the Basho fan, a magical fan said to extinguish any fire. And as they ride together atop the Nimbus, Goku starts tapping his Bruce Lee 11s against Chi-Chi's nethers like a DDR pad and confirms to himself that yep, this is genuine bona fide grade A girl he's dealing with. Chi-Chi reactivates Goku's CTE and sends him flying into a local cliff like a Tom and Jerry episode before they can continue the next leg of their journey. Little does Goku know that in Chi-Chi's culture, Goku's small act of sexual harassment just secured their reservations for a shotgun wedding. So the whole ride, Chi-Chi was blushing like Mario in a room full of leaky pipes while Goku was wondering what the hell was going on. Since Roshi was forced by the feds to move as far away from civilization as possible, Goku stopped and got some directions from a local dolphin. Since dolphins are basically the Achilles of the sea, it makes sense that they would know the exact whereabouts of Roshi because we all know game recognized game. And with this, Chi-Chi and Goku made their way to OVO Roshi's front door. First impressions, let's just say Chi-Chi probably regrets the decision almost immediately, as the first thing he does is wonder why her boobs shrank since the last time they met, because he could have swore she was better than this the first time he saw her.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
Goku informs him that this is a different girl he picked up off the streets, informing him that this is Gyumao's daughter. OVO Roshi ponders for a minute, wondering what in the name of Kami-sama could have possessed that man to name his daughter that. And while Roshi's lost in thought, Chi-Chi, convinced his Viagra-fueled elder Goon Lord couldn't possibly be the legendary master she was told so much about, decides to put his martial arts skills to the test, throwing her atomic mohawk at Roshi to test his reactions. Funnily enough, the old master does sense it coming and puts his guard up, but it matters very little, as that blade was sharper than a witch's nipple in winter and cuts through his cane like it was Trey Songz. Can't lie though, Roshi took that hit like a champ despite that being nowhere close to the type of brain he wished to receive from the fair sex. After some convincing though, Roshi agrees to help, under the condition that Goku hooks him up with a quick second base sesh with Bulma upon completion of the task. What can you even say, man? You're just gooned out at 99 years old, there's no hope. You just gotta do your time in hell and hope the next time you respawn you get better genetics and restrict the internet access. One thing that made me laugh though is the way the English version tried their best to censor Roshi's antics and make him something less of a pederast. In our version, Roshi just asked Bulma to go for a quick stroll with him around the island while holding hands, giving him a more lonely old man Joe Biden vibe. But we know what you really are, sir. Ain't a PR team alive out here that's going to be able to build that image back up. Goku, still not understanding what the big deal about Bulma's front butt is, agrees to the old man's wishes about having a talk with his pubescent friend, and the search for the Bashosin begins. The only problem is, Muten's got more collectibles in his house than a 40-year-old millennial virgin. He has no idea where he put the damn thing. Apparently, he misplaced it somewhere, which feels about right for a guy who lives alone with his musty playboys and a talking turtle. Eventually, Roshi recalls that he spilled some wonton soup on that bad boy randomly one night and chucked it into the garbage. Roshi a different breed. When the fan search comes up empty, Roshi, refusing to give up his chance for the most action he would ever see in his life, casually offers an alternative solution. Why not just let me come and handle it? Roshi calls upon the power of Gamera, who's been out of work since about 1965 and takes odd jobs from Roshi when he isn't serving as a Monster of the Week jobber on tokusatsu film sets, and gets to spinning like DJ Jazzy Jeff and hurries the fry pan for his big date along with Goku and Chi-Chi. Upon his arrival, he chastises every ounce of dignity out of Gyumao, informing him that he's heard rumors about the nonsense he's been up to since leaving his tutelage, and he's deeply ashamed. And if you out here making Muten Roshi embarrassed to be associated with you, you know you done goofed. Ox King prostrates himself in front of his master, vowing to give up his greedy ways. Roshi's hear none of it though, and tells Ox King that he's embarrassed that one of his disciples wasn't able to put out such a lowly fire himself. But before Roshi can get down to business completely, one last order of business has to be settled up. He informs Goku to talk to his lady friend real quick and remind her of the deal. Goku informs Bulma that the old man needs to touch her pine cones or he won't be able to put out the fire. Absolutely sick to her stomach, but in desperate need of that Dragon Ball, she pinky promises the old wretch, who then begins to drop trowel and get to work. A shirtless Roshi approaches the fire with all the aura of a new Donald Trump. And just as we're all convinced that the idea of Roshi being able to put out the fire was little more than a dream, Roshi locks in and instantly becomes the size of a young Toguro. Once set, he demonstrates why he's considered the legendary martial artist he is. As he performs some katas and chants, Roshi fires off his ultimate technique, the Kamehameha wave. It is truly wild watching this moment and thinking about not just how historic it is in terms of Dragon Ball history, but pop culture history across the world. It's damn near impossible to find a human being with media access that hasn't had some exposure to Dragon Ball and the Kamehameha wave. The badassness of it seems to be a universal truth, and being here for ground zero is like watching footage of Jordan in the NBA Finals or Muhammad Ali up against Foreman. You just know you're seeing something timeless. And everyone's surprised, the attack turns out to be an absolute nuke. An energy blast so powerful it completely obliterates the fire and most of the castle. Ox King rolls up like, damn, Unc, guess you do still got the juice after all. Only problem is you bodied my house too. Bulma's immediately upset, not just at the thought of this old fella feeling up her jumblies, but taking in the fact that there's a very real possibility he just zeroed out the Dragon Ball in the castle, and any shot she had at getting her Prince Charming were up in more smoke than Fry Pan currently was. As she was making haste to the wreckage, Goku could not get over how unbelievably sick that laser beam the old dude just shot out of his hands was, and walks up to Big Roshi for a lesson. Y'all already know OVO Roshi was feeling himself like mad following that most recent display of strength, letting Goku know that he should stroll his nappy blowout back over to the island in about 50 years, because that's how long it would take him to master a technique as nasty of work as the Kamehameha. Roshi was barely done talking when Goku walks up to the Volkswagen Yamcha in him, assumes the position, and before he even fully registers what is happening himself, a beam of light leaves his hands and totals the car in front of him. The beauty of Goku's signature attack being born from a gag ain't lost on me either. Seeing this section and thinking of how other moments surrounding the Kamehameha goes throughout Dragon Ball, it makes me wonder if the attack was just meant to be a gag, but Toriyama Sensei and the editors was like, this thing is low-key way too cool to be played just for jokes and it became a thing, or if he intended for the move to play such a crucial role throughout the series in the way it has. Because Roshi stays getting surprised throughout Dragon Ball by people being able to just do the Kamehameha with no types of prior training and seemingly little effort. One of my favorite moments with it is in the future when Tien is still on his heel timing and just comes out of nowhere and whips one out in his fight against the handsome devil Jackie Chun, who definitely has no relationship with any characters we already know. Fellas was just out here cranking them out, and Roshi was absolutely flabbergasted. Seeing how easily the little monkey fella takes to it though, this leaves Roshi to learn from Big McLarge Huge that he was the adopted son of Gohan and offers to take the boy under his wing for some specialized training. After seeing that Roshi was actually the real deal, Goku was excited to take him up on it, but it would have to wait until he recovered his grandpa's balls and paid a visit to the dragon. And speaking of ball inspection, Bulma's mission in the rubble, shoutouts to Paw Patrol, proved to be a success, and they were given a spare ride by Brick Hard Meat so their journey for the remainder of the balls could continue. Just as the crew sought to pull out, Roshi brought a very important matter to their attention. He had yet to be rewarded for his brilliant showcase of otherworldly martial brilliance, and nobody would be leaving that crater till he did. Goku really stayed making promises to old man he got no business trying to fulfill. Ain't no Bulma's dime, no less. Goku's lucky Bulma got love for him like that, because the first time you try to pit me out to some old warlock when I ain't even present, our relationship's on thin ice. But Bulma also felt beholden because she agreed to it herself, so she had to think fast. That's where Oolong comes in. She rolls up the babe and doesn't mince words. Look, little fella, I need you to lock in, transform into me, and let this fella fill you up so we can get on with this trip, and I ain't asking twice. Oolong looks at her like she's insane, wondering what in the hell would possibly possess him to hop on that massive grenade. Bulma doesn't even pretend to negotiate. Now I don't blame her, telling Oolong he either suits up or she's gonna have him shit in his pants in front of the whole squad. You pick your poison. Realizing that Bulma's brain already went into airplane mode the moment she stopped talking, he decided to transform and turn into short stack Queen Bulma before heading out. Reminding Oolong that the goal is to seduce Oolong and not Vosh, he got his mind right and proceeded with the proper transformation. But Oolong decided that if he was going to be forced to attend his Diddy party against his will, the least he could do was make Bulma regret it forever. Rolling up on Roshi, who was all too excited to get the festivities underway, Long, under the guise of Bulma, decided that he could do Roshi one better than just a quick measly grope session, and that a martial artist of his caliber deserved nothing better than the finest Puff Puff. So after whispering sweet nothing in the hermit's ear and getting the turtle out of his shell, so to speak, Oolong dropped his top and let Roshi enact things upon him that Toriyama and the editors deemed unfit for human consumption. And as Bulma was forced to endure a level of secondhand shame hereto unknown by a human being, Chi-Chi also sought to arrange a playdate for the future, asking the little fellow when they got older, he would be willing to scoop her off the market before her Christmas cake expires. Goku, not having the slightest clue what she means, tells her sure whatever. He ain't sure what she's selling, but if it's free, he'll take it. I hope young Gohan never got told the story of how he came into this world.
Yeah, little homie, your mom's basically threw it at me. I ain't even want it for real, but you know me, I ain't never been one to turn down free eats. And that's how you got here, Gohan.
Sick work. As promises were kept and new promises were made, Bulma and company ventured forth to find the last Dragon Ball. Just one more step to the widest dreams became a reality. The next couple chapters, honestly just a little filler gag fest, but it's got some OD moments that are worth talking about. So the gang pulls up the speedway to fill up their whip so they can make it to that final Dragon Ball. Things are immediately weird though, because the second anyone in the village gets eyes on Bulma, they start running the other way. Bulma, convinced the town is just allergic to baddies like a D1 athlete, continues her trek into town to pick up some capsules, which the merchant hands over free of charge, which takes her completely off guard, but she again chalks this up to finally being in a city where a lady of her caliber is treated properly. She makes her way into another store where she drops the bunny outfit for a Shantae cosplay, which for whatever reason seems to royally piss off the shopkeep, but she can't help but notice that it took her star rating down from 5 to 1 the moment she dropped the bunny ears. She finds her way back to the car and starts getting pushed up on by Joaquin Phoenix and Cedric the Entertainer, who of course are trying to break off a piece of that jailbait bar and warn her that if she doesn't want any problems with the rabbit gang, she'll come along quietly. Goku, after chowing down on his gas station burrito, gets his reason to start acting up when Joaquin pulls out a gun and he puts both the goons to sleep in quick fashion. Cedric, powering through cries in a pain butthole, calls for a backup on his walkie-talkie. Before long, this absolutely adorable whip shows up, and from the doors emerge a completely dripped out Who Framed Roger Rabbit with insane aura. After chastising his boys, he moonsaults his way to Bulma, and before Yamcha, who's lurking in the bushes, can drop the lore dump, Bulma touches his hand and is immediately turned into a carrot. According to Yamcha, Boss Carrot has a wild rep in the underworld for his Midas touch, but instead of turning you into something cool like gold, he turns you into a fantastic source of vitamin A. Oolong peeps game and tells Goku to bash his brains in with a pole to avoid getting snacked on. And right before Goku can end the fight, Boss Carrot plays the hostage card and plans to cannibalize Bulma if he gets any closer. Then, while Goku is paralyzed, he sends his boy over for a little fun, who basically starts stomping the yard on Goku. Insane. These two grown-ass men were absolutely going to town on YA and Goku. Yamcha, pressed the journey for a wife who could be cut short by this nonsense, provides some Wolf Fang backup, bodies the randoms, gets Poir to grab Carrot Bulma, leaving Goku to turn Buddy's skull into a slushie and save the day. After getting pressed, he turns Bulma back to normal, but before the journey for the final ball can continue, tell me why this fella Goku strings up the goons like Peter Parker and carts them off to the moon. Yes, the moon, no food, no oxygen, just vibes. Thinking about this part now actually has me bugging on so many levels though. Issue 1, how is little homie and these Goombas out here breathing in space at all? If this was the Goku we had in Z continuity, Frieza would have absolute tears in his eyes punching the air. In issue 2, how's my man Goku just chilling on the moon, full tail intact, with no King Kong transformation in sight? This how you know Sensei was flying by the seat of his pants every week. And we can't even say this episode is just some TV filler type beat. This has a whole 2 chapters dedicated to it in the manga. Whatever though, we ball regardless, because speaking of which, there's 1 ball still remaining. And here, homies, on the path to the final Dragon Ball is where we'll call it. Tune in next time as the gang enters the domain of Emperor Pilaf. It turns out that the little guy is on the hunt for the balls as well. Who will ultimately emerge victorious? The unstoppable force that is Son Goku and company, or the immovable object that is Pilaf's fortress? The episode opens with Goku, Bulma, and Oolong riding through the desert on their way to the last Dragon Ball. Preparing for the final leg of their adventure, Bulma finally reveals the reason she is searching for the Mystic MacGuffins in the first place, revealing her desire to be swept off her feet by Prince Charming to live the rest of her days in marital bliss. Now y'all can't tell me Toriyama Sensei wasn't some kind of evil genius, because as we know, far off into the future, Bulma does indeed find her Prince Charming in none other than all 4 foot 10 inches, that fine piece of manlet royalty Prince Vegeta. Now I know on a rational level it's likely just a really cool coincidence that the story thread dating all the way back to the first arc in Dragon Ball bears fruit in the later parts of Z, but I promise the more I examine Toriyama and his work, it feels like watching Light Yagami or Sosuke Aizen cooking up schemes on their ops, just layers upon layers of 4D chess being played that you don't even fully begin to appreciate till your years removed and looking in retrospect. Oolong is immediately pissed, decidedly unhappy that he's been roped into this life-altering journey, only to find out the goal is to cuck himself in the end and watch Bulma get porked while he's stuck riding shotgun with Goku to live on Sex Offender Island. The fight is short-lived though when we're introduced to one of Emperor Pilaf's henchmen, Mai, who has eyes on the bozos and is ready to begin Operation Finesse the Balls the moment she gets the word. Man, Mai is a cool character who gets utterly ruined for me off of her characterization in Super. For those who don't know Ball, Mai, who is part of the Emperor Pilaf comedy relief team in Super, is a whole ass grown woman. We are talking older than Bulma when she's introduced to us in the beginning of Dragon Ball. Somewhere during the Android saga, if I'm recalling correctly, Pilaf makes a wish to be younger, but it backfires and his whole crew are physically aged down. Only problem is, I'm pretty sure Mai is still a whole grown ass woman inside that body. So, as Dennis and Always Sunny might say, now we gotta deal with some implications.
Okay, that seems really dark. No, it's not dark. You're misunderstanding me, bro. Because of the implication.
Because if Mai is indeed a completely grown-ass woman in a kid's body, and that absolutely sauceless pairing of Trunks and Mai is to be believed, Trunks, my guy, you are a victim. Guess we didn't get all the way off the cupcake train in Z either. Absolutely nasty work. Well, anyway, old Ghislaine Maxwell over here lets off an explosive that puts the crew whip out of commission. Shu, the trusty animal sidekick and low-key voice of reason out of Pilaf's crew, ganks the balls while Oolong and company are recovering from the ruckus and skedaddles.
I have to go now. My planet needs me.
Goku scoots off to confront the robot, but Shu was long gone, and after a very disappointing scrap with the lifeless Shubot, Goku returns to the party to deliver the bad news that he came home ballless. Bulma immediately begins to take the black pill and is saved by the unexpected ingenuity of Goku, who held on to his grandpa's ball for safekeeping. Yamcha, seeing that somebody already beat him to the punch when it came to Operation Finesse the Dragon, decided that desperate times call for desperate measures, and he put on his big boy banana hammock to help the squad retrieve his balls, physically and metaphorically. Yamcha was beside himself the whole trip to Pilaf's castle, with his current stat spread being far too low to do anything about Bulma's advances other than pop a half chub and sweat. Pilaf and company began to celebrate their spoils, but the festivities were short-lived upon seeing that they were an orb short. Luckily for them though, the joys they were looking for found their way to them with no extra effort, and in an even better turn of events, somehow managed to trap themselves without the Stooges having to do much of anything at all. Goku, John Arbuckle, and the rest tried their best to break out of Pilaf's Rubik's Cube of Doom, but to no avail, while Pilaf's crew watched from their Twitch feed, thinking on what would be the easiest way to pry the last ball out of the enemy's hands. I can't lie, the Pilaf's company's antics really used to drop my cactus watching the anime, as I found their humor never really landed for me. But I actually found myself having a lot more fun with the Pilaf homies in the manga. I can be a sucker for meta humor at times, and the crude dialogue coupled with the breaking of the fourth wall that happens in the written version actually redeemed the clown show for me in a few ways. For example, when they're watching from the monitor, Miss Maxwell mentions that she noticed a sack between the nappy boy's legs, and it looks like there may indeed contain a ball. Pilaf just kind of stares at her for a moment and tells her that Toriyama has been working his ass off to lose his reputation for pee-pee poo-poo humor like he had in the days of the slump era, and she's giving him a bad name. And then the next panel over, she's just holding a stick with poop on it, and they comment on how they're gonna get kicked out of Jump at this rate. And that's what I mean, homies, about Dragon Ball really having its own charm and tone. It's stuff like that you just won't see in the Dragon Ball Z era when the stakes are so high and everything has become so serious. So if there's some flowers I can give to Super, it would be that I respect how it did a lot to mix the melodrama of Z with the outrageousness of early Dragon Ball. Back to our regularly scheduled programming though, Pilaf appears on screen and decides to take the diplomatic approach initially, telling the crew to give them the damn Dragon Ball and this whole thing can go quick and easy. Y'all can imagine how that went over with Bulma especially, so Pilaf ups the stakes and tells Bulma that if she won't listen, then he'll be forced to do something nice and perverted to make her talk. That statement I made about 90% of the roster being unsalvageable ain't looking like a highball anymore, huh? And the whole affair only proceeds to get more foul when Pilaf extends his Go-Go Gadget arm and yokes Bulma into the Bible Black continuity. As she enters Pilaf's lair, a sense of dread comes over her after he asks her one more time that she's sure she isn't willing to give up the balls. Bulma, being too stubborn for her own good, flips him the bird and tells him to do his worst. Pilaf lowers his head and all Bulma can do is cower when he looks her in the eye and tells her that he guesses he has no choice as his mouth begins to salivate upon thinking of the horrors he'll inflict upon her in mere moments. As Yamcha and Goku look upon the screen terrified, and Oolong observes with a strange look and a hand firmly planted in his pocket preparing to do unspeakable things, the moment comes. Pilaf raises his hands to his lips and blows Bulma the wettest kiss she's ever seen in her life. Shu and Mai can't even look in his general direction with what Pilaf having done being so dirty. But Pilaf couldn't believe his eyes. Bulma, that beast of a woman, seemed completely unfazed by his perverse, uncultured display of lustful affection. Yamcha almost seemed impressed, thinking of how he would have literally broken his own neck if he was placed in a similar situation with a young woman. And the surprises continued as Bulma spoke up following Pilaf's attack, with her words reflecting her nonchalant attitude about the whole affair, telling Pilaf she was absolutely sure he was going to pull off her top till she couldn't breathe and passed out. Pilaf couldn't even believe the young lady let those words leave her mouth. Realizing he was far outclassed in the ways of love and needing a stiff cigarette and a moment to clear his head, he sent Bulma back to the coal mines with the rest of the crew and decided he would just knock him out with sleeping gas and steal the balls to get the show on the road. There was no point in chancing it with weirdos like what they were dealing with right now. And as the plan was set into motion, they knocked Bulma and company out with sleeping gas, and after a quick examination of the monkey boy's backside, found his balls and left the crew slumped, in a manner of speaking, while they made off with the last treasure and prepared to summon the dragon. The concoction wears off, and upon awakening, Goku immediately realizes that he's a ball short. Getting desperate because they know the window to getting their wish is quickly slipping away, Yamcha tells Goku to go for a Hail Mary and try that attack he learned from Roshi to see what kind of damage he can do. Confused as to how Yamcha even knows about that, but realizing they're running short on time, Goku assumes the position and shoots a beam directly at the wall. While it had nowhere near the destructive force of the Hermit's signature attack, it was enough to blow a small hole in the wall and give the team a window to the outside. Enough of a window for Par and Oolong to transform into bats and see the arisen Shinron being summoned from his slumber. It looked like Pilaf's plan was a success and their chance to run interference may have already run out. Pilaf makes his move. He calls upon the Eternal Dragon, collecting all 7 of the orbs for the ritual. The Dragon Balls emit a radiant glow and a light shoots into the sky as Shenlong manifests in the air, leaving all who see him in awe. Pilaf had won and his plans to take over the world was just a single sentence away. Yamcha and Bulma observed from the peephole in their tiny cell, devastated that their journey that had brought them so far was to end in failure at the tail end. A terrified Par and Oolong, upon seeing Shenlong take his place in the air, decided that maybe the best thing they could do was to run to safety, as there was no telling what that massive iguana was capable of. In an uncharacteristic moment of clarity and boldness, though, Oolong thought to himself that with the dragon summoned, all he had to do was be faster and louder than Pilaf in making his wish, and the situation may yet be salvageable. So with all the bravery his little pig bat heart could muster, right as Pilaf was preparing to take what was rightfully his, Oolong shouted to the heavens his heart's greatest desire in hopes of blocking the tyranny of the evil emperor. His request? Bear stank-ass women's panties, and may Kami have mercy on his soul. But as incredulous of the request as all in attendance were, including the dragon itself, down from the heavens and directly on Oolong's snot box fell a pair of immaculately soft women's underoos. He had done it. Then in a flash, Shenlong disappeared as quickly as he came, and the Dragon Balls began to glow, levitating into the air and shooting off in every direction, scattered once again into the winds and the far reaches of the earth. Oolong had done it. His perverse instinct saved the world from a period of utter domination by the would-be universe emperor Pilaf. As you may imagine though, Pilaf was more than a little crushed having his dreams thwarted after seeing them come so close to fruition, so he decided that he would take his frustrations out on the Dragon crew, leaving them to stew in that steel chamber. Once the sun came up, they would be cooked faster than Darvin Ham coaching a winning team.
Go hard on them dudes.
And so the waiting game proceeded. Goku and Yamcha, even with all their strength, were no match for the steel cage Pilaf now had them in. And even worse was Goku started bugging, telling them all to be wary of the moon or else that the monster that ruins families will come and crush any hopes they have of a happy future. Curious at the oddly specific tragedy Goku began talking about, they couldn't help but want to learn more and asked him to elaborate. Goku assured them that everything he was telling them was all rap, no cap. Right before bed one night when he was finished lying on his grandpa's nut pillow, Gohan urged him to go straight to bed because it was a full moon out, and if you look up at the sky during one of those moons, the home-wrecking Wolfman would come and body your house. Goku revealed that he tried to be a good boy, but when he was in the middle of brushing his teeth, he accidentally looked up. Didn't remember much more after that. Then when he awoke in the morning, he found Grandpa Gohan's body crushed by the evil monster, and from that day forward, he followed his warnings about the moon. Brian Yamcha and company's reaction to this reveal was spot on, because deep in their heart they knew something was off with this kid, and this finally solidified it. Bulma, in all her wisdom, commanded Goku, "Hey kid, whatever you do, make sure you don't look exactly where my finger is pointing at that delicious full moon." And of course, being threatened with a good time, Goku had to take a quick glance. To everyone's surprise though, the kid seemed fine. That wasn't until the moon juices started kicking in like a delayed response edible, and the next thing they know, Goku's busting out his clothes faster than Diddy near an elementary school playground. His body's enshrouded in hair and expands at least 30 to 40 times his normal size. Powering straight through the top of the tin roof. On the one hand, Team Dragon finally found their way out of the hotbox. Only problem now was not losing all their one-ups while Donkey Kong was going on his rampage. Goku had seemingly lost the little marbles he had while transformed, completely wrecking Pilaf's castle indiscriminately and destroying all around in a reckless rage. Pilaf's crew attempted to escape by plane but got knocked out of the sky by a gigantic hairy fist, taking their day from bad to worse. As the Dragon Squad attempted to escape, Bulma got stuck under a large piece of debris, and it appeared as though Goku may once again end up tragically taking the life of someone he cares about completely unknowingly. But Yamcha, using his intimate knowledge of Goku's anatomy, bear hugged his tail to paralyze the brute, and then had Puar turn into a gigantic pair of scissors, cutting off Goku's downstairs dangalang and reverting him back to the adorable bite-sized package. The squad had survived. Deciding to rest till morning to let Goku recover, the young monkey fella woke up, Wang floating in the breeze, asking everybody why the hell he was naked. They decided not to impart the secret of his genetics onto him, knowing it would crush him after he realized he was responsible for his grandpa Gohan's death. Though Oolong was 100% sure that Goku was some kind of alien at this point rather than human. Looks like I gotta ring another one up for the Toriyama prophecy counter. They tell Goku there was an accident last night, and in the commotion, his tail was lost. After a momentary bout of shock, Goku takes the news exceedingly well for someone who just lost a part of their anatomy they've been carrying since birth. Goku searches the wreckage at the castle for his power pole, while Bulma and Yamcha lament the fact that they'll forever be stuck in no romance Gen Z purgatory. That is, until they finally get a good look at one another, and Yamcha, realizing that he somehow managed to get over his fear of cooties while running for his life, slowly begins to cook up some designs for the blue-haired lady in front of him. Goku returns to see Oolong sick to his stomach, while Bulma and Yamcha are hitting the gritty together, way more excited about life for some reason than he's ever seen them before. Now the journey for the balls was done, Bulma asked Goku if he wants to come back to the city with her and Yamcha. With his nappy hair and adorable gut, he'll be a hit with all the cuties in town. Goku has other plans though, stating his desire to shack up with Muten Roshi for a while to work on his martial arts. Because if there's someone that can come in and rough up that castle that easy, and he couldn't even blow a hole through a measly wall, he's got some work to do. Oolong asks about the status of the hoes back in the big city, and Bulma assures him that his pork rinds will be staying just as dry as they were in the country, but he decides to come along anyway because what he's got better to do. Goku suggests meeting up in a year from now to go on another scavenger hunt, but Bulma informs him that they likely would not be necessary for them now, but she would like to give Goku a parting gift, entrusting the Dragon Radar to him so when the time comes he can track down his grandpa Gohan's ball again. And just like that, homies, the first arc of Dragon Ball comes to an end, with the Dragon Squad going their separate ways, each on a new adventure and renewed strength in their hearts. Tune in next time, homies, as Goku lands on Roshi's Island. What lies in store for Goku in his training with the Turtle Hermit, and what new acquaintances wait him upon his arrival as well. Only one way to find out. Be easy, y'all, and catch you again in the next season of Dragon Ball.